As feminine women, we were not called to toil. We were not called to work hard. Yes, there are seasons to work, but it's very important to be able to discern when God is calling you into a season of rest. Hey girlies, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Laura Renee, and this is another episode of the Faithful and Feminine podcast series. This is a podcast series where I like to talk about all things faith, femininity, and personal development. I like to just pick up a mic and talk about whatever God places on my heart, whether it's something that I went through in the past, something that I recently went through, or something that I'm currently navigating on my journey through womanhood. So if you can relate to any of the topics discussed, if you learned something, just let your girl know in the comments, like, share, and don't forget to subscribe as well. So on today's episode, I want to talk about why I am no longer striving, why I am no longer going to work hard, why I no longer want to work my butt off in this next season of life, and why I feel like God is calling me into a period of rest. Why I feel like God is calling a lot of feminine women in the collective to walk into a season of rest. So first, I'm going to talk about a few traits that I've been learning about femininity and what it really means to be feminine. So to be feminine means to be discerning yet open, soft yet strong, reserved but outspoken, wise but not judgmental, vulnerable yet confident, ambitious yet surrendered. This is something that I am currently learning in my season of life, to be ambitious, to have goals, to have dreams, to have things that I'm working towards, but to also be surrendered to God's bigger plan and to be surrendered to the flow of allowing things to happen in different seasons of my life. One thing that I realized about myself is that I spent years striving. I was always working towards something, and not just working, but working hard. And it wasn't until recently that I realized that this constant cycle of striving, this constant cycle of perfection, this constant cycle of chasing the next best thing, the next best accomplishment in my life really had me guarded. And I realized that in order to rest in my feminine energy, I have to allow life to flow in and out. I have to allow the ups and the downs. I have to allow life to come as it is, or come as it's meant to come, and not place such high expectations on myself, on what my life needs to look like, on what I need to be doing in every single season. I need to be ready to surrender. If the season calls for rest, I need to be ready to rest. If the season calls to work, I need to be ready to work. Whatever the season calls of me, I need to be able to surrender to, instead of already deciding ahead of time what each season needs to bring me, how it needs to bring it to me in that order. And so growing up, I was always a straight A student. For the most part, I was always an honor roll student, always A's and B's, all throughout elementary school, all throughout middle school and high school. I was in the gifted program. I'm sure most elementary schools have this out there, where once your teacher realizes you're a little too advanced for your grade, they will have you take an exam, and they will put you in a gifted class where basically you're an advanced of whatever subject that may be. I remember in second grade, I believe that's when I started doing advanced reading, advanced language arts, I think is what they used to call it. In fifth grade, I literally remember my math teacher used to have to beg me. What was her name? Miss Wasco. Oh my gosh. Shout out Miss Wasco. If you went to Parkway Elementary School in Miami, Florida, or Miss Wasco, if you're watching this, shout out to you. You're still one of my favorite teachers to this day. Miss Wasco, you literally used to beg me, like, hey, Laura, can you slow down? Like, she would be teaching a math lesson, and I would be 3 lessons ahead in my workbook, because been there, done that. I understood that multiplication problem long time ago. Like, I was always ahead, always working ahead. I remember she used to have to ask me, hey, Laura, slow down. Like, let's keep up the pace with the rest of the class, because there was no gifted math class at the time. And even going into high school, I graduated top 5 of my class. I graduated with, I believe, a 3.8 GPA in high school. Me and all my friends were top 5. We were always used to being top of the school. We were always used to being the top students. We were always used to being praised for our work. Being one of the smart kids is a good thing. It's a good thing until you realize that most of your academic life is you being acknowledged for being smart. And so receiving that praise makes you want to chase that even more. It makes you want to accomplish even more. It makes you want to continue to be the thing that you are looked at for being good at. Does that make sense? It develops an idea of perfectionism. I can't just do things, I have to do them well. I can't just do things, I have to excel. I have to go above and beyond. I have to be an overachiever. And going into college, I would say this shaped my college experience as well, because I wasn't just the average student going to school, coming home. College was a lot more difficult than high school. All throughout college, I was working a full-time job. At one point, I was working from home and taking classes once I would get off. So I would work a 9 to 5, 8 hours a week, and then I would get off from work and go to class in the evening, come home, do homework, take care of myself. At this point, I was living on my own in college. And then halfway through my college journey, I transferred to another job where I would work from 3:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. So my days would start at 2 a.m. in the morning. I would clock out, come home, go to class some days, or come home and go straight to studying. I was also part of an organization. I was vice president of an organization, the National Council of Negro Women. If any of my ancestors out there, shout out to y'all. It wasn't enough for me to just work. I had to work enough to pay all of my bills, to do everything on my own while doing school full time. Even after I graduated last summer with a bachelor's degree in human communications and a minor in psych. And I was very proud of myself. It was a very big accomplishment for me. But soon after accomplishing that, a lot of people started asking me, and I even started asking myself, well, when am I going to start my master's? The big question when I graduated was, okay, so what's next? What is she going to do now? What is she going to achieve now? What is she going to set out to do now? For a while, I internalized that. And I was looking into master's programs, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, I need to go to grad school. Like, duh, that's the next step. It wasn't until recently that I had to stop and ask myself, am I pursuing grad school for me? Or am I pursuing this because I think that's what I'm supposed to do? Am I pursuing this because God told me this is tied to my purpose, or because God told me that this is what I need to do? This is what the next step is in my life? Or am I doing this because this is a part of the plan that I always had carved out for myself, to be the achiever, to keep achieving and achieving and achieving and achieving? This season of surrender has really taught me to not just surrender my faith, not just surrender my identity, but to surrender my plans for my life, what I feel like I should be doing, what I feel like my life should look like in the next year, 2, 3 years. I realized that these high standards and these high expectations really made me guarded. When you have your guard up and you don't trust the flow of your life, you don't trust a life where you don't have the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years planned out, step by step, exactly what you're going to be doing at any given moment. When you don't trust how your life can look outside of that strategic planning, you don't allow God room to flow. You don't allow God room to work. You don't allow God room to bring things to you and show you things and help you discover things along the way, because you already have this idea of what your life is supposed to look like. So here are some signs that you may need to let your guard down as a feminine woman. 1, you have high expectations. Before you make any decision or before you enter any relationship, you already have an idea on what it's supposed to look like, what it's supposed to become, and how it's supposed to become that. Having high expectations makes it really hard to live in the joy of life. It makes it really hard to enjoy the freedom of life, because no matter what you're doing, you could be in the middle of the happiest moment of your life, but in the back of your head, you have strategy. In the back of your head, you already have an idea on what this means, what this is supposed to mean, exactly how this decision could look like, exactly how this decision could affect you, or exactly how this relationship could affect you, or exactly what this relationship is supposed to become, instead of just flowing. Having high expectations can ruin the spontaneousness, or the spontaneity, I think that's the word, of life. Allow life to surprise you. There are many different ways to get to the same destination, and having high expectations can ruin that. And number 2, not leaving enough room for mistakes. A lot of times, me included, this is something that I'm still growing out of, is shame. I can be my hardest critic and my biggest critic. Whenever I make mistakes or whenever I fall short, I tend to feel a level of shame. that sometimes keeps me stuck in the mistake and sometimes keeps me from moving forward. For any women out there who deal with shame when they make mistakes or deal with that critical side of their brain constantly beating them down whenever they fall short of something, I want to tell you that it's okay to leave room for mistakes for yourself and for others. There is no strict way to go about life. There is no strategic way to do things the right way. If you don't make mistakes, how can you expect yourself to learn? So the third sign is not asking for help, feeling like you have to do everything on your own at all times, being afraid to ask a friend for help, being afraid to ask a relative, a family member, mom, dad, feeling like I have to have it all together all the time. I can't show anyone that I don't have it all together. It's okay to not have it all together. It's okay to ask for help. That's what community is for. The fourth sign is feeling like you have to rely on yourself for everything. Looking at yourself as your provider, your comforter, your friend, your everything. We need community. And better yet, we need God. It's okay to leave room in your life to be dependent on someone for something. There's no bigger provider than God. If you do have a job, it's because God provided you the means to be able to pay your bills. Whatever you have, it's because God provided the means for you to have that thing. So never confuse yourself as the sole provider in your life. You are never the sole provider in your life. And when you only depend on yourself for everything in your life, you don't leave enough room for God to work. You don't leave enough room for God to bless you or surprise you or please you. You only leave room for yourself to do that. So leave God some room to bless you, and you'd be surprised just how much He can please you. And the last sign that you may have your guard up is always feeling like you have to work hard towards something. As feminine women, we were not called to toil. We were not called to work hard. Yes, there are seasons to work, but it's very important to be able to discern when God is calling you into a season of rest or when God is calling you into a season of slowing down. Now, this doesn't mean you give up work altogether. This doesn't mean you stop working and you throw in the towel and just rely on God to pay for everything. No, definitely steward your life well. If you have bills, girl, don't just get up and quit a job. But maybe this means work less. Whatever work may mean to you, maybe this means do a little bit less of it. And you'd be surprised just how much you'll still be taken care of in the meantime. You'll still be taken care of. If God is calling you to a season of rest, trust and believe He has provision for that season. Pray on it, fast on it if you need to, but go to God and seek His counsel on whether or not this is a season for you to be striving, whether this is a season for you to be working steady, or whether this is a season for you to slow down and rest. This season for me, I am going to rest in my feminine energy. I'm going to rest in the fact that I am loved, I am provided for, I am taken care of, and it's not because I have a job, it's not because I pay my bills on time, but because I have a God that sees to it that all my needs are met. And after years and years of striving, I am finally giving myself permission to slow down. I just want to be a girl. I just want to look cute and live my life and rest and nurture myself, and I want to create, I want to feel joy, I want to laugh, I want to sing, I want to cry, I want to dance. I want to be free in my feminine energy. I feel like I've been using my feminine energy to protect myself, to protect my future, and no more self-preservation. I don't need to preserve myself. I don't need to strive. There's no one to please. I have achieved enough for a lifetime. If I never achieve anything ever again, I will still be proud of myself. I will still love myself. I love this platform. I love pouring into this platform. I love that this is such a creative outlet for me. And before Faithful and Feminine, I can honestly say that I didn't have any creative outlet. I didn't have anywhere where I could just pour into and watch it become something, you know what I mean? And this channel is growing already, and I'm so blessed to be able to have this. I am so blessed to have you guys watching and tuning in. I encourage every woman watching this to give yourself permission to rest, give yourself permission to flow, give yourself permission to let your guard down and see how God can bless you in this season. That's all I wanted to say for today. I hope you got something from this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, Until next time.